Hi everyone, welcome back to the Student Says podcast. We are sorry we have left uploading for a few weeks. We've both been busy trying to sort things out with getting ready for uni again and things like that. It's just been a bit of a stressful, well not stressful, but just trying to make sure we've got everything and make sure we're into next year with grades and everything. Because I know Bea had a late assignment that she needed us to submit and everything like that. So sorry it's taken so long.
Still haven't submitted it, but
okay, we won't talk about
we'll
that.
move.
We'll move forward. But today we are going to be talking about what it's like being the transition from moving from home in an area that you know well, like the back of your hand, to moving to a place that you, to start off with, have no idea what's going on. And also we'll talk about homesickness and that it's a normal thing for you to go through at this point in time because you've lived in the same area for, maybe you haven't, but especially for me, and I'm pretty sure you have, we've lived in the same little area for our whole life, that it's weird to move somewhere that's different. So
yeah. Well,
topics.
I literally lived in the same. I've lived in this house for about, I think it's like 12 years. So I went to the same secondary school, same sixth form the whole time. So it was really weird, and I was really, really nervous before uni because I was like, I've never stayed somewhere for longer than like a month that's just completely on my own. So it's a bit daunting. Were you really nervous before you went?
I was, but in a way I was kind of excited because I was ready to move on and move to uni. Ever since I left school, I was like, my goal is to go to university. So of course being able to do that, and was like, once I got there I was like, yeah, okay, it's a bit scary now I'm here because I'm not close, I'm not 5 minutes walk from my nan's or my dad's or my mum's, that it's weird to be here, but I know that they're not that far away if I need them. So it was weird, but I was kind of ready for a change and ready to carry on with what I want to do, because I feel like once you hit 18, it's like what you want to do, you do, and you pursue what you want to do, and if that means going to university, that means going to university.
I think one of the main points is because I was really, really nervous. I couldn't sleep for days before, but I think the one thing is that really settled me was being prepared before I went. So having the day before, making sure everything's packed, where the stuff is in the car if you want to pack your stuff into the car before, because I felt like that made a huge difference. And I just thought it really settles your mind because you've got 100 million things running around your head going, have I got this? Have I remembered this? What happens if I get there and I've forgotten this? When actually, it's not like you're moving to another planet. You are, well, I'm only 2 hours away. You're about not even that.
I'm about an hour.
Really close. Yeah. So I think that's the first thing you need to think. I'm not going to be here forever. And if I do forget something, obviously if it's something major, I don't know, your bedding, then that probably is a bit of an issue, or your duvets or stuff, but there is always ways around everything.
Well, when I moved to uni, I didn't think about the fact that I needed drawers, well, not drawers, little baskets and stuff to put my underwear, my socks and everything in, because you go in knowing roughly what space you've got, but you don't know exactly what you need until you get there. So I know the day that I moved in, I went to Primark and went and brought some baskets. Some of my flatmates who were on the same floor as me needed some bits and bobs from Primark as well. So we just kind of went and did it and then carried on moving our stuff in, because you'll find as you live there, and especially in the first week or so, you'll work out what you need and that you didn't bring with you but you need, so you'll just go and nip to the supermarket, get it. I know one of my flatmates had a frying pan for a week and then proceeded to go to Morrison's and buy a new frying pan. You will realise that you need it, but you just get up and you just go and buy things yourself. You get used to it.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. I think the only thing I had to buy was a pint glass, of course, and like some tights, and that was literally it. But I think everyone before they go is so worried, and when they get there they're so worried about unpacking all of their stuff and making sure that they've bought every single little thing. I found that when I was packing for like before uni, I was putting stuff in like boxes that I just knew I would never even need, and you just take all this stuff. Like I bought Nerf guns, I bought like DVDs when I don't even have a TV in my room. It's like, who am I trying to play DVDs for?
To be fair, I know near the end of uni, I know this has nothing to do with moving in, but we ended up watching quite a lot of movies near the end because we had a HDMI cable and plugged it into the TV in the living room. Of course, not all universities come with a TV in the living room. We were lucky enough to have one, but it is one way, especially in the first week or the first day of moving into university, it's a good way to get to know people just sitting downstairs and watching TV, which I admit for the first few weeks of uni I didn't do enough, which I regret. But we move on, and it's not something I could change, but I did end up doing it later on near the end of university and loved it. So
yeah, our next episode is all about like Freshers Week, and the one after that is all about making friends. So then we'll talk more about how to, you know, make friends and what we did and what we shouldn't have done and what we should have done and what we recommend and stuff. But I think that is such a big big part of the reason why everyone's so nervous about moving in, which is understandable. And I think the biggest thing is when you interact with your flatmates for the first time on your first day. I think that's a very big and nerve-wracking thing.
I think we also had a bonus because we had, I don't know if it's the same with every university. I know a few people from different universities have the same thing, but we had a group on Facebook which was like 2019 freshers or something. Was that the year we joined? Yeah. So we had a group on Facebook called 2019 freshers where you went through, people posted what flat they were in. So I know we had a flat group chat that we didn't talk much on, but we kind of knew what each other looked like and things like that, and like knew who each other was, roughly knew what they were like but didn't. And then we also had a course group chat, which is how I know you to start off with, because I know our first interaction was just great because we just were like, I know you off Facebook, but I don't know you personally. Are you the person that I've been speaking to on Facebook type of thing?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good idea because then you can talk to people before you go, but it's not the same as physically interacting with someone, which of course, it's a sticky one.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was I actually liked having the group chats before, but I know for my flat, so there was 10 of us in the flat, but only 7 of us were in the group chat. So I think for us, and actually it turned out that like the 7 of us that were in the group chat are the ones that were like friends for the whole time. So I think it sort of proves that it does actually make a difference, and it just takes a little bit off of like you worrying about it, because I know from the group chat I saw everyone in person and was like, I already know your name, because that is the worst thing when you've just had like a 15-minute long conversation with someone, you go back to them and you can't remember their names, so you're like, oh no. I think that was the thing that I was worried about for the first like few days, but it got all right. But yeah, I think our course group chat was good as well, because we were sort of
loads of them didn't even end up joining our course, and a lot of them, especially like, so basically we have like MMJ, which is what we are, well, multimedia journalism, which is what we are, and then we have the sports side, because the sports lads plus Mel were all in it, like they weren't part of our little group chat. So I think there was only like one lad from that group, like from the sports side, that was actually in our group chat. So it wasn't as big as what we thought. So it was daunting, especially when we had our first news day on the Friday, and there was just suddenly like so many people, and we just thought it was just us. It was a bit, you just take a step back and you're like, but then you get on later down the line and they're all nice people.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. You just need to, especially on your first day, when you first move into your flat, just be yourself from day one. It's just easier. Like, people will like you as you are. Uni's not a judgy place as such. Everyone's all wanting to be there. It's not like school and college where you're kind of forced to be there. Everyone at uni wants to be at uni.
And I think for our course as well, because it's really specific, it's like everyone's picked that because they know that they definitely have some sort of interest in that specific course or that area, like the media world, so they know that they want to do something like that. So I think there's no point in just pretending that you're someone you're not, and once you figure that out, you'll find it so much easier to move away, because you'll think it's not actually as daunting as you think. And yeah, it's okay. I think it's just, there are obviously ups and downs where some days you're like, no one likes me, I'm so annoying. I can't believe I've got to make all these new friends and like settle into this whole place again. But you realise everyone else is in that same exact boat as you. It's not just you moving into a new school or like moving into a new city all on your own. Like there are thousands of people at that uni that are all thinking, oh my god, I'm so annoying, everyone hates me. But it's just not true.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to when you first move into university, I know that when it came to food, I had some frozen meals that my stepmom made for me, which I was very grateful for, because home cooking just is a luxury when it comes, like, especially when it's your family cooking, is a luxury when you're at uni. So I just savoured them meals for as long as I could. But I know that I did the majority of my shopping once I got there. So me and my parents, we moved all my stuff into my room. I let my parents make my bed, because I was like, that's one thing that parents always feel better knowing that at least if they leave, you've got a nice freshly made bed. Don't know if it's probably the same with the lads. Don't know if it's just a girl thing, but I know my parents felt better knowing that at least I have a bed to get into if I didn't end up unpacking everything else. They knew that I had somewhere to sleep. So then we went to Morrison's, did my food shop. Of course, it was a lot more because we had loads of little things extra that I needed to buy, like cleaning products, toilet roll, that you don't always buy every single week, and like just stocking up the cupboard on like spices and things like that. So of course it'll be more expensive. Came back, and then they said bye. I was a bit of a I wasn't emotional, but I was emotional. I had a little cry on the walk back to my flat, and then I got back in my flat and I was like, right, we're all in the same position here. Everyone's leaving their family, and literally me and the other people on my floor, we all opened our doors into our room. Even though university tell you not to do it, do it. All I'm saying, no one will tell you off. It's the day you're moving in. And then we played music and we all just started sorting our rooms out. And I don't know if you had the same process as me, whether you did things differently. What was your angle?
So mine was sort of the same, but I'd already bought, or me and my mum went, I think it was like the day before or 2 days, went to Aldi where I live and just bought like loads of food so I wouldn't have to when I got up there. But I think that's just personal preference. So we got there, and then just unpacked. My mum made my bed for me. It obviously has to be some sort of thing that happens, like some sort of secret tradition, because that wasn't even spoke about, it just happened. My dad just sort of was the pack horse and brought everything upstairs and just sat there whilst I unpacked it. So it was quite weird though, because sort of just brought everything in. I wasn't officially unpacked, like I hadn't really unpacked any of my clothes, but my parents were just like, okay, I think it's time for us to leave now, so you can actually move in yourself and have time to unpack everything. So yeah, I think it was a good way to do it, even though it was quite weird. My mom was quite emotional about it, but I actually held it together. I think the weirdest point was when they actually left and you're like, oh, I'm here now. Like, this is so strange. Yes, it just suddenly hits you. I just remember I was sat in my room and I was just sat there like unpacking, and I was like, oh my god, like this is where I live now. Like this is, and all these people are like opposite me, next to me, like who I have to make friends with.
it definitely hits you once your parents have gone and you're just like, right, this is it. Because I know on the way up, because me and my mum drove up. Well, I didn't drive, but my mum drove up, and I know then I was like excited about it, and I was like, I'm moving to uni, which is the uni I want to be at. I'm doing what I want to do. And I don't think it hit you because you kind of got adrenaline pumping through your body because you're like, I'm doing this, I'm taking a step forward, I'm on my next chapter of my life, like type of thing. And then your parents leave and you're like, I've got to do everything myself now. I'm literally fending for myself. And it suddenly just hits you. And I know we'll talk about this later on in Freshers Week, but I know that I was all right for a good few weeks at uni, like, because I thought, in a way, I was like, I'm just on holiday. Just took all my stuff with me from my house, but I'm just on holiday.
Yeah.
And then it hit me later on, and I was like, I'm actually living here. Well, it was meant to be till July, but that changed. So, and I was like, I'm living here for like basically 9 months. I was like, I need to just realize that I ain't going anywhere. And I know, so the same thing happened with my stepbrother and my stepsister. We had well, it wasn't a rule, but we had a thing where I don't go home. I think it was for the first 6 or 8 weeks of uni, to make sure that I'm settled in, because I know I wanted to go home sooner, but I was like, if I go home sooner, it'll be even harder for me to come back. So if I stay at uni, I know then I'm all right and I'm fine. I know I went home the weekend before my birthday because it just ended up falling that way, and I had a haircut as well, so it just worked out that way. But it was just weird knowing that I could just not walk to just go and see them and everything, and like not see my nan, because I used to see my nan on a weekly basis, and not seeing her just kind of, it took a step back. Then I realised how used to everything I was at home, and then this is my new normal. That then it's just weird.
Yeah, I think that's the same with me as well, because I didn't go home for the first 5 weeks, I think. And the only reason I went home was because my sister was opening a shop and I was there for the little start party, which was fun. But I think for I think it was for both of us personally, it was so much better to not go home for those first few weeks, because you need time to settle in and you need time to, you sort of, as weird as it sounds, you need that time of you saying, I'm not enjoying it, I'm not, like, I haven't made any friends, or I'm finding it really difficult, because you will overcome that and you'll actually think, I'm here, this is like such an amazing experience, and we're lucky that we're actually in that position, that we're able to go to university and like have loads and loads of fun and do what we really, really want to do. So I think on that part, it was good that we didn't go home for that first time, because you sort of learn to live, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you learn to cook and you learn to live on your own, do your own laundry. Literally did not do my washing for the first 3 weeks of uni, which is actually pretty grubby. By the end I was like, I literally have no clothes, I actually need to do some washing. But that's just the part of it, isn't it?
You learn what your routine will be like and how often you do things. It's just something that you will just get used to, and then you'll get into such a routine. Because I know you said to me, I know this is nothing to do with moving in first week, but I know you said to me after you went home at Christmas, you moving back to uni you found it a bit more weird, didn't you?
Yeah, so yeah, because this sort of ties in with the homesick stuff. I think because you come back, when you go back for Christmas, I know I was really excited to go back home for Christmas, because that's literally the best time of the year. And it was just nice to have 3 weeks at home. But I think then when you go back, it was sort of like, oh, I've had such an amazing 3 weeks. Like, I've just had a really good time being at home, spending really quality time with your family. And I think it was just a realization of, oh, I have to get back. And I think it's the fact it was January. January is just such a terrible month anyway, that you're just like, oh, I just don't want it, it's all cold. And I don't know, were you the same, or were you like looking forward to going back?
I feel like I was looking forward to go back because I wanted to like see everyone at uni again, because of course like I have a really good mate who was in my flat, or still is in my flat come next year. I have everyone in my course that got on really well. So I was excited to go back and have my independence back. But then I also enjoyed being around my family and seeing my parents again and everything. That it was a weird one, but kind of not, if you know what I mean. Like I like being at uni, and I like being able to have my own independence, and knowing that I can just like go to the supermarket and come back and not have to like I know I'd let my parents know if I was at home, but I got so used to just going and being like, right, I need to go and get this, and just go in. And it's weird to come home and do that, but then I also really enjoyed spending my time with my family and like seeing my family for the first time, and especially seeing my nan, who I hadn't seen in how long. It was nice, but I was ready to go back to university. I was so ready. And you realise that you don't always, we'll talk about this as you said in the friends episode, but you don't just have friends in your flat. I know because I'm like, we are doing the same course, we kind of had the same interests, so we kind of get on better than say people in my flat who were doing like psychology and whatever, like, because we have the same interests, we have the same goals. So but it was nice. But then of course for the first few weeks when I was back, I was a bit homesick because I was used to being back in my little area where I'm close to everyone. Like I'm literally like walks away from my family. That's just was weird to be back that distance again. And I'm pretty sure you were the same because you were further distance than me.
Yeah, I think for me it was like I was quite lucky because I have a boyfriend that came up and like drove to see me every weekend, which was I'm so grateful for that, because I don't think I could have coped if he wasn't. It's just sort of like the bit of home that can come to you, so it's like much better. But I know a lot of people aren't like in that sort of situation, so I know that if he wasn't there I would have really, really struggled not seeing anyone, because I think me and you both were such like family people and love being surrounded by people who we're comfortable with, and you can just go out. And I think that's the one thing that I found really weird, like I couldn't, because I didn't know anyone yet, especially in the first few weeks, I couldn't like text anyone and be like, do you want to meet, because we literally couldn't. But like
it took us a few weeks. It did take us a few weeks to like properly know each other, but then that's normal.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, because when you're back home, you just text anyone and you're just like, oh, do you want to meet? Like, even if it's just in the park or just go to their house, but you just can't, you feel like you can't do that in uni, because if you just text someone randomly, it's like, do you want to meet? They'd be like,
See,
no.
I feel like I was kind of lucky because our uni did this weird like VIP day around this time last year, like July time last year. So I met someone from Coventry in that week, who was nothing to do with my course, nothing at all to do with like my flat where I was living or anything. And I just met her, and of course that made me feel a bit better knowing that I knew someone that I'd met before at uni. Yeah, okay, I hadn't known her properly, and like I'd never met her before this day, and I only met her once, but I then knew that if I needed to go over to her flat and see what her flat was like, I just could. And that made me feel a bit better knowing that we both had someone. But of course you didn't do that, did you?
No. Was that the girl that lived
in the same flat as
floor,
you?
yeah, the floor below me or something? Yeah. Because I didn't do the VIP day, because I think I was really sad I wasn't old enough. There was the one where you could like did you stay overnight?
No, because I'd just come off my holiday the day before, and I was like, no way am I stopping the night if I've just come back from my holiday.
Yeah, well, I literally, because it said on the email that you weren't allowed to go if you were under 18.
You could do
my
the
birthday's
day
in
one.
August. Yeah, I could have. I can't remember why I didn't, but I was just like, I just can't. I was emotional at the fact I couldn't even stay over. But I know that the people that did go to those days, they said they were actually really beneficial. A boy in my flat went, and he's made like really good friends from those days, so I think it was good then. But yeah, I think it depends. I still would be as nervous, I think, now moving into uni, even though I had those.
Well, we texted multiple times and I was still nervous to go into the course.
Yeah. I think we wrote this down, didn't we, like talking about going to your first lectures and stuff, because for me that was really, really scary.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in Freshers Week, but yeah, because of course that's then, especially that's like another transition, because you have the transition of moving into your flat, then you have the transition then of going to lectures and meeting everyone on your course. That's also another big thing, because you don't know who luckily we kind of roughly knew who each other was, so kind of went and spoke to each other, but we had no idea who any of the other people were, and I was just like, I don't know who the lecturers are, like anything, and you're just like, it's all right. But we'll hit this later on, but I think our lecturers did a good job of us all speaking to each other, but we'll talk about that in the next episode, which is the Freshers Week episode.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main point is you're always going to have ups and downs, like moving away from home. It's never going to be an easy thing, but you just have to think everyone else is in this situation, and of course you're going to miss your family and your friends from home and just that comfort of being at home, but it's such an amazing like step in your life that you'll never get back that time again. So you just have to think that everyone's in this situation and YOLO.
Well, we said that when you move in, don't just suddenly be like a day later and be like, this isn't for me. You need to give it a chance.
Yeah, I think that's just such a huge point, because I think so many people aren't, well, I know I was like the first week when we did our first few lectures, I was like, I don't like this. The course, I said to you, didn't I was like, this course is not what I thought it was going to be like. It's not anything, I'm really not enjoying myself. But then I was like, we've literally been here about 10 days. Like you can't instantly like click and change your mind like that, because you haven't given it the chance to develop. And now I love it. Like I've given it that chance and I really love the course, and you're just giving it that time to settle in. And I think a lot of people say that after you had such a high in freshers, because it literally does feel like you're on holiday, after you finish that time, you're like, oh, the going out is gone down a bit now.
That's when your homesickness really hits you, is when freshers is gone and you suddenly like, right, this is me for 3 years now, sometimes 4, depending on what course you do. Like it hits you then, and that's when you become homesick the most, is once that's done.
Would you say that was when you struggled the most then, just after freshers?
Yeah, so we did Freshers Week for us was 2 weeks, and then the third week when I was there, I was like, right, this has hit me so much more. I was like, right, I'm here for 3 years. Like, yeah, okay, I won't be in the same flat, but I'm living away from home for 3 years. This could be me, like, not coming back home for a long time. Like, it hits you, and that's when I was like, I remember phoning my mum up, and I was like, Mum, I miss home. Did the same to my dad. I was like, Dad, I want to come home. And he's like, no, you're not allowed. Did it to my stepmom, and she's like, no, you've just got to carry on. And I remember I called my stepmom one night for like over an hour, and I was like, it just made me feel better knowing that I could still speak to them and that I was still able to speak to them a lot. And I think during the first few weeks I was so caught up with like freshers and everything that I forgot. And then when I did phone my parents for like a decent time to like catch her, it was nice. I did end up having to end my stepmom on a phone call because we had a fire safety talk, which just, I don't even know why, but yeah. So it was nice because I was just stood and I was just speaking to them. It was just nice to feel like talk to them again, because talking on the phone is not the same as texting. Like talking on the phone is so much better because you had to hear their voice and know what they sound like, which is why I preferred when I was at uni to phone my parents and phone my family, because I could then hear their voice and then I know that they're okay because I can hear them, rather than texting them and then it's not the same.
Yeah, I think little things like that are actually really, you don't realise how much they help you, like having that little phone call. I think our family FaceTimed quite a lot when I was at uni. Like, I reckon every other day, but not every time for like hours and hours. It will probably just be my sister telling my parents something, but I'm just there, like I'm just there listening. And I think those things are really important because I feel like a lot of people sometimes think they're not missing their family and they're not homesick, but I think it actually is subconsciously in your brain. You're thinking, I'm not at home, this is such a new environment, and those things actually really, really help. And
Definitely.
that's the same thing as well as your friends. We'll talk about it more in the friends episode, but like keeping in contact with your friends when you're like ages away does make a huge difference as well, because it's just that little bit from home, isn't it, that is good for anyone.
Yeah, definitely.
And also in regards to friends, I think it's very important to see your friends before you go to uni, like your friends from home, because you never know when you're going to see them again. Because one of my best friends, she like from sixth form, she went to Sheffield Uni, and we didn't really speak because obviously it's such a new change. Like you don't mean to lose contact, but you do. And then I hadn't seen her since, I think the last time I saw her was like a few weeks ago. So I hadn't seen her all that time from like September to then. And we were instantly like, oh, we just haven't spoke. I thought you hated me. And then you're like, obviously not. Like, you just need to remember to keep in contact, because otherwise those things happen. And
But I had that with one of my close mates. I know him from sixth form. I saw him before I moved to uni. The whole point was we were meant to see each other, but I'm in Northampton and he's in Wales, which is kind of awkward to get to. So I saw him then and I didn't see him again until like a few weeks ago. And it we kept in contact at certain points throughout me being at uni. We didn't speak as much, but it was just nice to see them. And of course, everyone, when you first move to uni, you're all so bombarded with everything that's going on, and it's so new that you will just not text people as much and like speak to your friends as much, because you're all going through the same thing, trying to work out what is going on and trying to like sort yourself out and what's going on in your flat and everything. And then you will then text your mates to see if they're fine, because they're doing the same thing as you. Don't feel like it's one-sided, because it's really not, as you said, from your friend.
yes, I think that's the thing. So many people go and then they're like, oh God, I haven't heard from this person, I haven't heard from this person. It's like, especially if they're at uni or if they've started a new job, it's like they're going through such a massive change in their life, and so are you. It's very rare that you are keeping in contact as much as you used to, because you've got so much to think about. You've got to think about your course, your flatmates, just living on your own, which is like as hard as it is. So you just have to realise that if things stop or like you struggle, it's normal and it happens for everyone.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah, exactly. Don't take it personally. Everything happens for a reason, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, literally. So yeah, basically what we're saying is it's normal to be homesick. It is going to be a very weird transition moving to university from home, especially if you've lived in the same area for how long. You are having to learn a new place, and I would say that I know Northampton really well. And when it came to moving all my stuff out, we drove back into Northampton, and I was like, why does this feel more like home? I was like, that's because I've lived there. So when I drove back into Northampton and I went to pick my stuff up, I was like, this feels more like home at the moment, because I've lived there for the past how long, that being back where I'm from is weird, because like I haven't lived here for probably like 4 or 5 months. That being back in Northampton, I was like, right, I'm ready to start uni again, but I can't because we're not allowed till September, which is a bit of annoying.
I mean, obviously we've had such a different experience as first years than all the other first years ever have experienced before, but I think you still will get homesick, and it's not going to be an easy experience for you when you move into uni. And the first year, I think, will probably be the most fun but also the most challenging year ever, because it's such a huge thing that you're doing,
especially from like September till Christmas.
It's that first term where you're just adjusting and you're just figuring out where you fit, what you're doing, like what to attend, what not to attend, like how much you like your course. And obviously if you really if you get to the end of first year and you're like, that is the worst, I'm really not enjoying myself, then obviously you're not going to think, oh, may as well stick it out, because you can't just keep doing something that doesn't make you happy. But equally, give it a chance, and it happens to 99% of the people that go to uni, I reckon.
I do know that for the people joining this September, so 2020, it's going to be a whole different experience for you, because you're not going to be able to do Freshers Week and anything like that. So it's going to be more difficult in a way to make friends, because you're stuck with your flatmates and you can't really be sociable. Rules might change, but at the moment you can't really be sociable with anyone else, and you've still got to keep your distance from everyone. It's going to be weird, but you're still going to you'll probably find you might be more homesick than what we were, because you're not full pace for the first 2 weeks at uni. You're going to literally be sat in your flat having to get to know your flatmates. You're not going to be able to go out on the nights out or do the daytime social activities. So it might hit you harder than what it's hit us.
But with that being said, to be fair, I'm sure I reckon every uni will be different, but I reckon they'll put stuff in place that is going with the regulations that they're allowed to do in the guidelines. So hopefully they'll be able to have some sporting stuff on that they could do. Who knows what's going to happen, but I think we just have to wait and see. And obviously it's going to be really different. Every uni will be different in how we experienced first year, but we'll just see, won't we? It's weird.
It's one of them that's you're just gonna have to take it as it comes at this point, because we don't know what's going on and anything could change. So yeah, I think that we've covered as much as we can. So basically, uni's going to be a big change for you. It's going to be hard when it first comes to move in, but just as Bea said, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know what you're packing into the car the night before you go, so you're not stressing as much. And also, homesickness is a normal thing. Everyone experiences it. Some people will tell you that they've experienced it. Other people just will keep it to themselves, and that's fine. It's a normal thing to experience. Don't be worried if you do. It's a big change that's going to happen, and it's a big change in your life. So
yeah, we hope we've provided some sort of help or assistance or guidance, whatever. But thank you very much for listening. Join us next time when we'll be talking about Freshers Week. How exciting. So yeah,
if you have any questions or anything, email, Twitter and Instagram will be on the screen or in the YouTube description. And if you're on Spotify, just search us Student Days Podcast on Instagram and it should come up. So yeah,
I think that's everything. So thank you for listening.